Watching this on the Facebook page, the YouTube page. I'm Chad. That's Greg. Welcome to the show. Greg, how you doing, buddy?
Hello, I am good. And also, if you're listening, this is a podcast now. So you can listen to it on YouTube, and we're going to be on Spotify soon, we promise. So, doing well. Thank you so much. I am extremely tired, but ready to talk sweet, sweet, glorious automotive news slash interesting things with both you and the omnipotent chat.
Omnipotent or omnipresent?
Both. Yes. Yes.
The answer to the
All of the
question
things.
is Miata.
Chat would agree, probably.
Of course. We have. It says we have two viewers. I think that's both you and me.
Yeah, probably. Oh, we have three now. Hooray. And also, chat is not showing up for some reason. Oh, there it is. I see it now. It was late for me. It's delayed, as everything is for me, including my brainwaves. So, yes, we're here. We're talking. Please comment, because not only is it good for the stream, but we want to talk to you. That's the whole reason we do this. I like Chad, but I don't want to talk to him every single day of my life, even though I do. So, I'm here for you guys, as well as Chad. Mostly you guys. Chad is meh.
I'm here for the free donuts.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah, so.
Marshawn Lynch style.
Jesus Christ.
I know. It's been a day, and it's like only 8:30 p.m. here on the East Coast. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's one of those things, man, where like I can't even. It's like allergies slash like the temperature shift always kind of gets me.
Yep.
So I get the sinus is
100%.
like, hello, how you doing? And it's like, so nose is running, eyes are watering, like,
Yep.
just so happy to see Greg. And
That's the correct response.
So while we wait for everyone, Greg recently, and by recently I mean this past Sunday, got a chance to drive the Mustang.
Ooh, I sure did.
And now that'll be a vlog coming out soon, depending on when we get the Polestar Dyno video finished.
Yep, which will be next week. I know I still owe you that because I am very forgetful.
Yeah.
So I will have that uploaded tomorrow.
So, real quick, I did have some follow-up questions for you.
Ooh, okay.
Number one, did the car... So you've heard me talk endlessly about it.
Yeah.
And you kind of had an idea. Did the car meet, exceed, or fall short of sort of the expectation you had in your head?
I would say between meet and exceed. It met every expectation that I had from it, from driving Mustangs previously, and I've driven basically every single S550 just through Shifting Lanes Media stuff. EcoBoost, the V6 when they had it, the V8, the Performance Pack 2 V8 GT, the GT 350. I only have never driven the GT 500. That's the only variant I have never driven of the S550. So I sort of knew what to expect based on just previous stuff, honestly. It exceeded my expectations in a couple of areas, which I think are readily apparent on the video. One of which was braking, which was just extremely good. Second of which was sound, just because it sounds glorious. And I had been in your car before, but driving it and just being a passenger are kind of different experiences in that respect. And it exceeded my expectations with how easy it was to drive. Built, not that I was expecting it to be just this like behemoth of a clutch and transmission, but it was a lot more approachable than I thought it would be. Other than that, it's Mustang. It met my expectations in every other area.
Now it was funny because like I drove Greg to the spot. It was kind of walking him through some of the stuff and everything. And then,
Yep.
like, you would say that was a smooth experience, right? There wasn't any, like, jarring acceleration or any jarring.
No, there was a little bit of clutch chatter, but you had prefaced it with there might be a little bit anyway. Regardless of how good you are at shifting a manual transmission, it happens. So,
You know,
what's up, Sean? Thanks for joining, brother.
and
Good to see you, bud.
but like the best part was I was able to drive it smooth and give you no indication on just how ferocious the brakes are. To me, like that was the goal.
That I appreciated.
Like because
That I appreciated.
like you wouldn't know it. I'm used to the car, right? So I kind of know how to
Sure.
how to do that and everything. But like number two, I wanted you to get that like first of like, hey, there's the brake. Oh, and when like just like
they're very touchy, but not in like a bad way. They're just they're ready for you to hit them. They are waiting at the ready to slow you down as much as humanly possible.
they do just a great job of it. And then I know you kind of didn't. You only really kind of got to experience it when like I went for that last rip, which is one of my favorite pieces of content that we've ever made. Not from like, it's not like it came out like some epic movie scene or anything, but it was like it was fun. All of the right noises and stuff came through, but like the only thing I wish you had a chance to experience more of was the rev range, because you never got close to the like red line. You never got close to the stock red line, let alone
No, and that was sort of by design, really, because I didn't want to. Well, one, it's not my car, and two, it was very cold. You were on summer tires, and I am not binning your car. You would be binning your car if you're pushing it. I'm not pushing it and I know, like, I've taken car control courses. I've done rallying at O'Neill Rally School. I've driven on tracks and stuff. Like, I know where the limits are, and I was nowhere near them, and that was by design. And it's because, again, not my car. I'm not putting your car into a hedge and or tree after you've spent $30,000+ on parts and installing them. So no.
Yeah, I mean next time I do want you to get close to that rev the rev limiter, only because I feel like you one of the biggest things I wanted you to take away from driving that car was just the capability of the Coyote from a simple standpoint of you've driven the Voodoo and kind of gone 9/10 in the Voodoo. Yep. And like, I know you're a big fan of that engine and everything, but like, I just wanted you to experience that the Coyote is like 9.5 or 95% of the Voodoo. And really it's like, for me, for my money, it's like, other than the engineering flex, I don't know if the Voodoo was necessary. And like, I kind of wanted you to experience that in my car. I understand it would have been a lot easier had we'd done this drive, when we first planned to, prior to boost.
Sure. No, I know, I hear you. But I mean, I've driven a Performance Pack 2 Mustang GT, so I kind of had an inkling of like what it was going to be like.
Right, but I mean, did you drive the facelift or the one like mine, the one
like yours? I think it was a 2017, and then they did the update in 2018.
Right, so like the stock pre 2018, 15, 16, 17. Did the front end, did it look like a catfish or did it look like my car?
No. I'm pretty sure it was the S550.1. Not the dot two. But I'm trying to remember the year. I want to say
was it the yellow one at Monticello?
No, it was up at Bear Mountain for spring break one year. So I forget if it was 2017 or 2018. Either one of them. I want to say 2017.
All right. Well,
so it was not. It was. I don't believe. I'm 90% sure it wasn't the facelift.
So the point I'm trying to make is that those have a 6,500 RPM red line.
Right.
Mine goes 1,000 above that. Well,
right.
Technically 1,200, but as we explained in the video, that actually ended up getting cut out. 7,500 is really where I should go, it has an extra 200 2 or 300 RPM, so that if I get close to that and go to like 7,500 or 7,600, just a little over, the rev limiter doesn't just choke, uh, just doesn't come down like hammering the motor. It gives me a tiny little bit of leeway.
Right.
Anthony's in chat. Now that I'm done effing the chat room, hi.
I don't know what that means, by the
I'm
way.
missing.
Please explain.
I'm missing context. And then he goes, "Oh,
Yeah.
hey, the chat box on stream is reasonable size now. Nice. Yes, I did. I've been playing around with it. I didn't. For me, like, so our more loyal viewers will know. About every 3 months, I get antsy and sort of mess around with the stream layout. And I recently changed the layout as we talked about last week, and it always annoyed me that, like, if you look at chat on stream, like, not in like on the web browser or anything, but in the actual, just to the that that direction of me. There we go. Um, it would be like Anthony would say something, and everything would be right of Anthony, so there'd be a lot of dead space, and like that. I like this look of chat better. I know it's tiny and it's small, and if you're listening to this on the podcast, you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. So, but yeah, I get a lot of OCD when it comes to like this, because I'll give you the short story, then I think we'll dive into our first little bit of news. But when we first talked about doing this, we went through a bunch of stuff: Restream, StreamYard, and all of them had sort of their benefits. Restream and StreamYard, for example, made it very easy to have, video call, like how Greg and I appear. It's not like
Yeah.
Greg and I are.
Yeah, like if you want to just like do this, those are two really good options of just like plug and play. It'll take you 20 minutes to kind of set up and go.
So like, but it was like missing features. I couldn't do alerts all that well. I couldn't do custom stuff. I couldn't have, like, at the very top, you see where we do all of our shout outs to, our subscribers, our followers, our supporters, members, etc. Like, you lost that. So I literally taught myself from scratch how to build all this in Stream Elements and Stream Labs. And it's kind of a combination of both. It's like I said, I think we're gonna be sticking with this layout for a minute, because I really really like it, and it's simple.
Yeah, it's nice and clean.
And it relies less on multiple parties and things of that nature. Anthony replies with, going in and out repeatedly. He was trying to get the TV stream to work right, but Failbook is stupid. $bazillion company and basic features sort of work. See, you say that, and I have a very good TV, and anytime I try to stream Facebook or cast Facebook onto my TV, the resolution's always kind of and I permanently have subtitles. I have no idea why. It's kind of annoying, because there are a couple creators that I like to watch who have exclusive deals with Facebook. But if you're ever having issues with Facebook, we are also on YouTube, and soon to be on a third platform that isn't Twitch, Kick, Mixer, etc. Arguably where Shifting Lanes is growing the fastest.
And that would be TikTok, by the way. Just because like it bears to be known that like we are growing really strongly over there. We just started that in January. We're already over 10,000 followers on there, and if you follow our short form stuff, you can kind of watch it anywhere. It's Facebook, it's on YouTube, it's on Instagram, it's on TikTok. So social media of your choice. We post the same thing on each space, but TikTok seems to be very hungry for car content that we produce, which is cool. So yeah, we're gonna try to end up streaming there. They have a really nice live setup. They don't have a ton of live streamers as part of their community yet, like Twitch does or Facebook and YouTube do. So we're gonna try to incorporate that next, just to see what it's like.
And hopefully we have massive success. And the other aggressive content platform that's well, I guess TikTok isn't relatively new, but is relatively new. Kick, the green
Yeah.
platform, which just signed a shit ton of creators, like big name creators. So
Oh wow, interesting.
yeah, where am I looking?
Grinder, no.
Um,
Yeah, yep, that's the next one. That's why Chad didn't name it.
I guess I guess we're getting I guess we're getting kind of big because we now have people commenting on the. This is the third video I've watched where I'm asking for this particular piece of content or merch. Anthony, I am working on it. I just can't find anything. Like I get something, I'm like, I don't like it, and then I kind of walk away. I'm kind of a perfectionist with some stuff, and like, I'll get that. Hopefully, you know what? I might get that for next week's stream. Because next week, and I promise it's the last thing, and then we're gonna get into cheap sleeper vehicles.
Yes.
But one of the big announcements we have is for the next 3 weeks, starting next week, we will be having guests. The first guest is one of our buddies over at EV Pulse, also named Chad. So next week is going to be 2 Chads, 1 Greg.
Which will not be the title. Please no. Please, please no.
No, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Alpha Chad, Beta Chad, and Omega Greg or something like that.
I like that. Omega Greg. I like it.
Omega's the last Greek letter, by the way.
It doesn't matter. It sounds cool.
Like Omega Red for all of you Marvel fans out there.
Yeah.
So Chad from EV Pulse is going to be coming on because we always seem to stray into electric cars on the stream, even though like none of us own one. We're not really EV enthusiasts, so to speak, or EV lobbyists, or whatever the hell you want to call it, shills, or even just well, shouldn't say we're not fans of them. It's just it's not,
Yeah.
it's a little bit.
It's the new hotness as far as like news and chatter is concerned in the car world, So, we've been talking internal combustion for over 100 years. EVs are having having their time right now, so it's just a pretty common topic to talk about. So it's we can dispel some myths. So if you guys have questions, here's some questions. Definitely be sure to have them for next week. If you're part of the supporter group, we will put a post up either tonight or tomorrow to have supporter group questions answered first. So if you do want to do that and you're part of the supporter group, look out for that post. We'll put that in there. And yeah, we'll have him on next week, which is going to be really cool.
And then the following week, we're going to have a fellow content creator who delves in the world of Fox Body Mustangs. And by delves into the world of Fox Body Mustangs, it's the War Admiral Fox Body that we've seen on stream. He has a pretty decent following over on Instagram. And he has the cleanest and arguably the gnarliest Fox Body I've ever seen. It's a really cool car, good dude. So we're going to be hanging out with him. And then we have
also has his own podcast.
Yes, which we may or may not. We should be guiding on some point. We're not sure when.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we have a Volvo enthusiast for you guys. What's the YouTube channel, Greg?
Yeah, his name is Elliot Alvis, or Elliot Alvis. He's part of that sort of Kentucky crew, which is like Tyler Hoover, Watch JR Go, and then Elliot is part of that crew as well. But he bought a V70R that was basically like non-running and ended up fixing it, and he's had a lot of problems with it. But he and I connected just because of that car, and like just the nicest dude. So he's gonna come on stream. We're gonna chat. I'm sure we'll talk Volvos because he's a Volvo owner, but we'll also talk other things just because he is also he also does live streams for car auction stuff, and he is really well versed in a lot of the old cars. So right up Doug's alley. He knows a lot about sort of the old stuff like Duesenbergs and things from the 30s and 40s. Coffin nose cords, whatever. But he will be on as well, and it's going to be a lot of fun for the next 3 weeks. And then after that, we may take a break just because Christmas and New Year's, and then we'll see if we can get some more guests on in January for you guys. And we have a lot of contacts in the. And again, this is not a humble brag, but we have a ton of contacts. We've been doing this for 10 years for the website, and now into the YouTube network. So we have a lot of contacts, and we can reach out and get more people on stream. And our goal is to eventually get, like a lot of the big guys on. We've met, Hanson has met at some of the press stuff. He's met, Jason Fensky from Engineering Explained. He's met Matt Farah from Smoking Tire. I'm friends with Tavarish. We've all met Tavarish. Chad and Hanson have been to his house.
Slept in his guest room.
I still have yet. That's right. I have yet to be there. But we have a lot of contacts from doing this for so long. So we want to get, bigger names on the stream too, just because they're interesting people and they do interesting things. So we're not that these three guys that we're starting with are not interesting. They're awesome. We're just trying to build a repertoire of people coming on stream and sort of enhance this for you guys, because we know you guys love coming on chatting with us and we love chatting with you, but why not get a third party in this chatting with you, not just about themselves but also about the news stuff we do. So we'll give you a taste of it next week and the next 3 weeks, and it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think I mentioned this in the supporter group, but one of my goals for this show is to have it be a hangout for car people where cars are kind of the sinew that binds us together. But we're just hanging out, right? Like, you might go to a car meet, you might talk about the dude's car, but you might also talk about random other stuff that's the car's what brought you there, but you stay for kind of like the conversation and everything like that. So I'm really excited for this. And again, it should be pretty entertaining for you guys. Give you guys a chance to reach out to some of these other creators and what have you. And if you have suggestions, pop them in the supporter group. We'll reach out. I mean, obviously, probably some guys are a little, if we don't know them personally, are probably going to be out of our wheelhouse. But I'm open to ideas, because I would love to make this kind of the thing where we would have a rotating third host and everything. And Anthony, Justin, welcome back.
Yep, as well as Doug, welcome as well.
Rear Admiral Doug Franz. I think every week, I think that my shtick now is just going to be every week I'm going to give him some other military rank. And then
next week must be captain, so you can do the How I Met Your Mother thing. Captain Franz.
Warrant Officer Franz. And then Anthony goes, shifting lanes shall replace Top Gear. I'm not kidding. That's my dream. That
would be awesome.
I guarantee you, if I ever won the lottery, I have a show already planned.
There would be signs.
Yes, like you'll see me going through the arduous task of trying to get a racetrack zoned. But yeah, really, really exciting stuff, guys. Again, if you're a supporter or you're a member on YouTube, any YouTube members, because I saw Sean, was it? Or Nate, sorry Nathan, had some issues with Facebook, so he's watching over here on YouTube. Hey man, I really appreciate you checking us out any way you can. It sucks that you got hacked, but anyone over on YouTube who's members, once you become a member, I'll give you a link to the Discord, and you can kind of contact and reach out and talk to everyone there. But I think now is a good time for Greg to give you his first piece of news for the week.
Yes. This is a good time for that. Um, what's up, Nate? Thanks for joining over on YouTube. Sorry to hear about Facebook. That sucks, man. But glad you can be on. And really quick before you do the news, I think it was Sean who asked. Oh no, it was Doug. What's the best place for us to watch on? I'm looking for the exact comment. Oh, does it matter for you which place we watch on? Not really. If you're just on Facebook, cool, just do that. If you are having problems, just switch over to YouTube. It really doesn't matter at that point. I know you guys sometimes like to donate stars for our stupidity. So staying on Facebook is probably the easiest for that. You can also donate on YouTube too. So quite frankly, it doesn't really matter that much. But Facebook is our following. So we like to, I personally like to have the most people on there because I feel like it's just good for the algorithm also because then the algorithm sees that we're doing live streams and we're doing reels posts and we're doing picture posts and we're responding to people. So I just feel like it's good overall to have more people on Facebook than YouTube. That may change overall if we get large enough on YouTube where we have more people on there. But whatever. Honestly, it's your preference. I can't stop you from going over to YouTube if you think that's a better experience. With that said,
I mean, yeah, wherever. I mean, we appreciate you guys watching however you can. Like I said, we're eventually going to be on 3 separate platforms. I'm assuming my internet can handle it, which it never had a problem when we were doing Twitch streams. So
it should be fine.
Should be okay with that. Wherever you guys want to watch, we just appreciate, donation stars, super chats over on YouTube, etc., etc. That's great, but believe it or not, I love the fact that you guys just watching us, and honestly,
correct.
Whatever I'll just add my 2 cents. Whatever
Thank you, Justin.
whatever platform, you guys have the easiest time sharing on is the. Oh, thanks for the 100 stars, Justin. Appreciate you. Whatever platform's the easiest for you to share with your friends on your timelines, whatever, that's the platform I would say go to. Facebook's, it's all but one ecosystem, so that makes sense. But if you're the cut and paste kind of person, whatever. But that's the biggest thing. It's one of the other reasons we're doing guests and everything is to try to grow our presence, to try to grow the show, try to make it bigger so we can do more. If we get more eyeballs, and let's just say that helps us get a sponsor or whatever down the road, then we can do more for you guys. We can have, more consistent meetups. We can do, giveaways. We can do a lot of different stuff. So just growth and whatever makes it easier for you guys to help there. If you want to, just watching is enough for me. I want to make that clear. Just watching is plenty. But
I agree. Also, Shotgun the first voiceover for the sponsor thing because I want to do it like Dax Shepard on Armchair Expert, where he goes, "Armchair Expert is sponsored by." I really want to do that for Shifting Lanes. Shifting Lanes is sponsored by. Just that cheesy old school.
The old voiceover. 90s
Yeah, exactly.
Jeopardy is sponsored
so badly
by.
To just be Shifting Lanes is sponsored by FCP Euro. Just do the goofiest, do that deep dip voice, and then right into it in the goofy just voiceover voice. I really want to do that so badly.
Fantastic. So, Greg.
To the news.
You drive a Volvo. Have owned.
I do.
3 other Volvos.
5 actually.
Oh, right. The
2 of which were just non-running.
The 240s.
Yeah.
I
know.
God, I want.
Not the topic at hand.
I would love for one of those to have just a cool engine in them.
I know.
But you've also owned a Japanese car and a European executives super sedan.
Yes, and a handmade British sports car.
Right. So, how did you come across a 705 sleeper pickup truck?
Well, funny you mentioned that. So the story behind this is we're doing a lot of reels and short form content, and I found that I mean, a lot of these like car websites, they're really good at finding these stories before me, which is just how journalism works most of the time. But the Drive is really one of those websites that has just so much really great content, and I know a bunch of people that work over there. So if you're gonna go to a website, the Drive is one that I wholeheartedly endorse because there's just good people over there, and they create good content and they have a lot of really awesome stories. So I was zooming around the interwebs looking for a cool topic to make a reel on, and I was browsing the Drive and I found this, which is from a dealer in Alabama, and made a quick reel on it, and the reel went nuts. By the way, it has like up around 700,000 views on Instagram. It's like over 300,000 views on TikTok. It's starting to pick up on Facebook. This thing will have like 2-3 million views by the time across all platforms, but like, which is really cool to say. But also, like, it's just really kind of cool. And you see these things kind of crop up every once in a while. These dealers, they go and they say, "Oh, we're gonna build a sleeper truck, or we're gonna build a sleeper Mustang, or we're gonna build a sleeper this, that, and the other thing." And a lot of the times they take these trucks that are already hopped up. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna build a sleeper Raptor." It's like, well, that doesn't exist. It's a freaking Raptor. Like, there is no such thing as a sleeper Raptor. It is not subtle. The end. Like,
Why?
oh,
Why I
we're gonna
personally
build
love it.
yeah, but I love it too. But like sleeper and Raptor don't go in the same sentence. Like this is the same thing. Like, oh, we're gonna build a sleeper Hellcat. Like, no, you're not. Everyone knows what that is. It's fast. It's loud. Stop it. This, however, is what a sleeper is. It's basically like a work truck that they slap a big old supercharger on and a whole bunch of other cool stuff. And it's like, oh, by the way, now you can have basically a construction site truck with 705 horsepower, which is pretty fantastic. So the whole story behind this is it's a dealer in Alabama. Ford dealers love to do this. You can find them all over the country. They'll do it with Mustangs and stuff too. But this one was just really cool because it's just a single cab Ford F-150 XL. And it's just your basic kind of work truck. It's got some cool stuff. It's still got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It's got the big V8, V8 engine in it. So it's not like
Coyote.
just a boring. Yeah, it's a Coyote. So it's not just a boring truck. So it's cool truck. But they slap a Roush supercharger on it for 705 horsepower. And you can kind of customize it as well a little bit. We were reached out to by the dealer. They are the owner of the dealer, or the owner of TC Customs is the shop that does this down in Alabama. And talked to them just a little bit. I got to text them tomorrow actually because we were just gonna chat about content and stuff like that. But basically, he responded on a bunch of comments on Instagram about this, and this is it. Like, it's not just this is the upgrade. This is it. This price here that you see, $46,998. That's the truck and like the bare bones upgrades. There's like different stages of it. The stage one is like everything you see here, and then basically that's it. And it has a warranty. This is a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty for a 700 horsepower sleeper F-150. I mean, I'm not sure how much better you can get, quite frankly.
No, and these trucks are actually becoming. I mean, trucks are always prevalent as like drag race vehicles and things of that nature, and modding them, street trucks, all this other sort of stuff, and everything. So like number one, like Jeff, the guy who built my Mustang, has a F-150 that he built similar to this, not a Roush supercharger, but it's a PD blower. It's very similar. Because like that 373 rear end that they're talking about is the same as it comes out of the Mustang. In that it's the same, everything is the same. Yeah. And it's just a solid rear axle as opposed to independent rear axles. So like these things are hugely capable. If you've watched if you watch Cletus, they did a giveaway with a truck that was similar, a single cab, supercharger, everything. They even got a turbo truck that, like, because that was so, like, it's easy horsepower, it's easy traction. I will mention that Jeff uh, has broken first gear in his transmission a couple times, but I forget. I think these are a 10-speed automatic, so it's like you got 9 more, you're fine.
Yeah. And this dealer does a Mustang as well. I was poking around their website, and they do a sleeper Mustang as well. There was no pictures or anything like this, but if you want, you can have it built. But this is cool, and there's like different levels to this. Like there's a stage 3 to this where you can like get a whole bunch of bells and whistles, like big wheels, big brake kit, suspension upgrades and things like that. Like, but if you want just a bare bones sleeper truck with a warranty, here it is. And it's interesting. And Doug, thank you for commenting on the one on Facebook, by the way, that you used to be at a dealer that did this and no one bought them, because that's actually a topic I wanted to talk about with this thing is, and I think I commented on it about with a Shifting Lanes account. It's like, enthusiasts really tend to beg for things like this. They beg for manual transmission cars. They beg for performance things, and then they never buy them. And that's a huge problem. And if it's any indication, a bunch of people have been sharing this on Instagram from that reel, and a bunch of people said they actually contacted the dealer, and I think 1 or 2 people actually put in orders. I don't know if that's true, but they said it in their Instagram story, and a couple people had like businesses behind their accounts. Like one of them was a wrap shop, one of them was a performance shop. So I would take it at their word at face value and be like, yeah, I contacted them. Like even that, like that's cool to be able to say that I made this like, silly little one and a half minute reel about this really cool truck, and they actually contacted the dealer. That's neat. That's pretty cool, I thought. But constantly we see people talking about like, oh, we want this, that, and the other thing, and then no one buys them. That's why we don't have performance wagons here in the U.S. anymore. They're awesome. No one buys them. That's why we don't have manual transmission much in most cars anymore. No one buys them. Everyone wants the convenience of the automatic. So this is kind of a really cool thing to see, because you're gonna see, as enthusiasm sort of goes into its next generation, which is what's happening now with EVs. Like it comes up again on stream, but with EVs and the manual sort of dying off a little bit, it's going to be dealers and small shops that do this that's really going to push forward enthusiasm into the kind of the next generation. So I think this is really cool to see, and I want to see it done more. I know Ford dealers do this a lot, but I want to see other dealers do this, like an Audi dealer selling an RS3 with a warranted Abt tune, like an ABT tune or something like that, or Mercedes S63 AMG, or sorry, E63 AMG with a Rentec tune or something like that, and just some stuff to make it like a sleeper car. I would love to see that. It probably won't ever happen, but I would love to see things like that more, just to continue the enthusiasm.
I mean, 100%. Like, this sort of stuff used to be fairly prevalent. I mean, if you can go back and you can look at like Copo Camaros, right? Like, or dealerships had access to a parts catalog that the consumer didn't, and then they started passing it along. So that's how you could get, and originally that's I believe how you could get a SS trim, let's say Camaro, with the big engine and all that other sort of stuff, with the RS handling package. Eventually, Chevy's like, it took them all of like 6 months to be like, yes, we should do more of that. But I forget what the heck was the name of the dealer? I think Doug will know, because I think it was in PA. Yanko.
Yanko, yeah.
Yanko used to do this stuff all the time with cars and everything like that. So I think it's like it's ingrained in our car buying culture. The thing is that if we as enthusiasts are asking car manufacturers or car dealers to do this more, the problem is like I'm guessing these are made kind of to order, so they're off the expense of it isn't really that big of a concern. Um,
Yeah, they are made to order. They don't just make them. So you put in the order and they go for it.
so it, I mean, it's a weird place to be in, right? Like, you're not getting the prestige of getting like a Roush F-150, but you're getting something with similar performance. But it's in a weird
Hmm.
spot of like it doesn't have like the name cachet, and it isn't like your build, right? Like,
Right.
would it be better because it has a warranty and stuff? 100%. But car people are weird and they're strange, and like they want to do a build that's theirs. Every
Right.
schmuck can go down and kind of get this build, this truck. Like, I don't, even though it's exactly what you would do, and the dealer's eating the some of the cost, right? Like, because they're able to business with it. Sorry, lost my train of thought. But I think it's a really, really cool idea. I think, for $46,000, getting a 700 horsepower truck that kind of looks like you're on your way to, like, a job site, and it'll just blow
Yeah.
the doors off of most anything, is really, really cool. I didn't see if this was like rear wheel drive or all wheel or 4-wheel drive. I'm guessing in Alabama there's like a good chance that it's only rear wheel drive.
I believe it's only rear wheel drive.
So, I mean, if you ever wanted a vehicle that's just plug and play, go to Cletus and Cars and compete in the burnout competition, there you go.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool concept, and I would like to see, like you, I'd like to see more of it. But like, it doesn't have to be. This is headline grabbing, right? Like 705 horsepower for under $50,000, right? Like, show me where else you're getting that in the new vehicle market.
Yeah, that's another actually good point I wanted to bring up is there were a lot of comments on this reel on almost every platform that said, "Oh, ha ha ha, $47,000. That's not bad." Because I said, I believe I said in the reel, like, only $47,000 for all this. Like, that's not bad. Honestly, it's not bad. If you look at the average price of a new car right now, I believe it's north of 50K, which is insane. Um, but there's also the consideration of, like, when you're talking about performance cars or performance trucks or whatever, and you talk about the number one thing everyone looks at, not necessarily what enthusiasts look at, but we do too, obviously. But the number one thing everyone looks at is the big sexy number. It's the power number. To get 705 horsepower, brand new from a dealership with a warranty,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to find much around 700 horsepower, if at all, for 47
I
grand.
mean, also not to think of it. Anthony kind of made this point, and I'll kind of expand on it. Show me a factory F-150 with that horsepower for under 100 grand.
Oh, doesn't exist.
Granted, it's the
Doesn't exist.
Raptor R, but
Well, right,
but
but
it's
again,
but
it
it's
doesn't
you're
exist.
literally spending pretty much half of that for. I mean, Doug goes, it's like a factory, or it's like a dealer built Chad's Mustang. Um, I mean, horsepower is similar. I would like to imagine that my
Yeah,
Mustang
not
would
wrong.
look a little better. But
Definitely would. Look at your tires versus look at those tires.
and that's the complete lack of anything resembling weight in the back. But
I was just gonna say, also weight distribution, big difference.
it's like I said, I think this stuff is really, really cool. I think stuff like this could have. That's Let me backtrack. Stuff like this would be cool on, like, if a Toyota dealer had a Corolla hatchback and gave it 250-ish horsepower, 300 horsepower, something in that neighborhood, and uh, you know, as a way of it's like, look, you can have the GR Corolla for more money than a Corolla is really worth, if I'm being honest, or you can have this, which will give you 9/10 of the exhilaration, and it'll be different. You know, like little
Right.
stuff like that. Like it would be cool to see. You know, I think Chrysler did it for a while. A lot of the manufacturers for a while had like when like modding cars and like the whole Fast and Furious craze was hitting and everything, and modifying cars on a every level. You know, Scion was supposed to be this for their belief fleeting moment in the sun, but like you could click an option. Hey, I see you offer a turbo kit for this, or I see you like Chrysler with the SRT4 used to offer from factory or from Mopar, you know, a stage 2, a stage 3 for the SRT4, you know, and that it wasn't like you were going out and sourcing your own parts, and it still kept like the warranty
Right.
and things of that nature. Like, I think it's a really cool idea. I hope this dealer sells a ton of them, so they're um, inspired to do more stuff like this, because I see this
Yeah.
as only a net positive.
Absolutely, yes.
And I think the best way to close this is that it's not another crossover.
Yes. That's always a good thing.
You know, so it's I dig the hell out of it. I mean, uh, I think
Yeah, it's cool. It is really cool.
you know, just imagine if like part of this thing's appeal is 705 horsepower for under $50,000, which I challenge anyone to go find something like that
Hmm.
that isn't pre-owned. You know,
Oh, that's a really one last thing on that actually. Sorry, before we move on, is this is the out the door price, by the way. There's no markups here. It was confirmed by the owner of the shop in the comments. So everyone's like, "Oh yeah, they're gonna mark it up." Blah 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 blah. Like, no, this is like you get your truck, you get the power, you get what's on the sheet. That's the price. The end. If you can afford it, cool, pay cash. If you can't, cool, they can finance it. But again, it's out the door price for 700 horsepower at the crank F-150 sleeper for the price of what is essentially a fully loaded Toyota Highlander or Hyundai Santa Fe, which is insane.
right? And it's again, I would love to see them do more. I would love to see this inspire like a Chevy dealer to kind of be like, or Chevy or a GMC dealer to kind of, you know, and Steve's gonna yell at me before watching. Stay tuned, but like it'd be cool if like a factory decided that, hey, what would a modern Cyclone be look like? You know,
Right.
which
Something like this.
exactly, you know, so like it's just again, I hope it's successful and I hope it inspires other dealerships to follow suit, because like
Yeah.
we deserve more of this.
Yeah, agree. Totally agree.
Sean goes, I think Chevy would need to find a transmission to survive that. Fun fact, in the full-size pickup trucks, Chevy and Ford use basically the same transmission.
Yeah, it's not ZF. What is it?
Oh, fuck.
Because it's the 10 speed,
Yeah,
right?
they both use the same 10-speed. So it's
Is it?
same automatic 10-speed that's in the Camaro and Mustang, too, by the way.
Is it a ZF?
It's either, what's the other one? I'm going to get vapor locked trying to think of this. Anthony goes, why not a Typhoon? I mean, not for nothing. Typhoon. If they made a body shape that was kind of that boxy shape, right, in that compact SUV world. I mean, a Typhoon would make so much sense. It actually hurts, because what was a Typhoon? It was an all-wheel drive SUV. Where have I heard that before?
I don't know. I wasn't listening. I'm trying to look up the manufacturer for the 10 speed.
Where have I heard the idea of an all-wheel drive SUV? every single crossover that exists right now.
I was just gonna say, literally everywhere.
Right? Like, I don't want to sit here and say someone should be playing around with a crossover or like sing the praises of the crossover. But if you like want to get that guy whose wife's like, we need a crossover because we have 2.5 kids and 4.5 kids worth of shit. And you know, it's like, hey, look at what we had. I think Ford tried to do something with like the ST Edge, which no, but like if GMC or Chevy or whoever, because I'm guessing they still own the name the Typhoon.
I would imagine so.
You know, imagine slapping that on a like that would immediately get my attention, Anthony's attention, Steve's attention. Um, you know, it would just have to hit that 90s retro vibe. You know, and like not for nothing, Hyundai is doing the boxy SUV thing. Toyota even a little bit with the Land Cruiser and stuff. But like,
Yep.
it's, I mean, not for nothing. Good thing this is going to live on YouTube and Facebook for forever. I want royalties when someone does that.
Yes. Alan, welcome back. How's the K-Swap going, brother?
K-swap the world. One day, Alan.
K-Swap the world.
One day.
Also, the transmission company you were trying to think of is Allison.
That's right.
And it is not. It is literally manufactured by Ford and GM. It's a joint venture.
Yeah.
They it's not like it's not an Aisin transmission. It's not a it's not a Tremec. It's not whatever. It is literally them. They make it.
I knew there was some sort of like meeting of the minds there. I'm pretty sure.
So
I'm pretty sure.
Here's what it says.
Schwinn was in the boardroom too.
The Schwinn, the bicycle maker. Yeah, makes sense. The Ford GM 10-speed automatic transmission is part of a joint venture between Ford Motor Company and General Motors to design and engineer two transmissions, a longitudinal 10-speed transmission and a transverse 9-speed transaxle. Each company will manufacture its own unique version of the transmissions in their own factories. The 10-speed was designed by Ford, while GM designed the 9-speed transmission, which is used in transverse applications. So it's them. They did it. They've done it.
So we live in a world where Ford and Ford and General Motors can come together for the betterment of humanity. There's hope yet.
Nice.
At any rate, I will be right back. We still have another decent. We have another piece of news, and then we have something I wanted to talk about that was actually suggested by supporter extraordinaire Anthony. So, Greg is going to tell you the top 3 V8s he wants to buy.
3 V8s that I want to buy?
Vehicles.
Ooh, 3 V8 vehicles that I would want to buy. All right, well, this is actually going to be a shorter conversation than Chad hopes it is, but so very easy for me. The top 3 in that list: Jaguar F-Type R, Chevrolet Corvette. Wow, I'm tired. Corvette Z06 C6, probably 2010 plus or 2009 plus, just because I think it has the Magna ride, or Mustang GT350R. And as much as that's going to anger Chad, be like, no, the Coyote. It's a cool engine. It's also just a specialized. I like specialized weird cars. Polestar. I mean, just the special versions of cars are just cool to me. So like, M3 to 3 Series, Polestar to regular V60, GT350 to regular Mustang. But those 3 cars in particular are probably at the top of my list. Oh, actually, Anthony, good one there. Noble M600 exists, yes, which has the 4.4 liter Yamaha V8 that Volvo put in a bunch of its cars, i.e. the S80 and XC90. Also the same engine that was used in the Australian Supercar series, which is very cool. So very awesome engine. I would own a V8 Volvo. I think it's just cool, quite frankly, just to say I have the car that, or one of the two cars that Volvo ever shoved a V8 into and mass produced. I think that'd be really neat. Um, but something I wanted to touch on actually up in chat was who was talking about CRVs. I know Steve owns a CRV. Buy a CRV and mod. Think outside the box. There's something I got to look into because uh, there is. Oh, Anthony, can you see me? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Can I want to say yes because it looks like I'm still streaming and I'm the person on Facebook. So let me know if you guys can hear me or see me. But one thing I wanted to look up was the Honda Civic Type R, not the new generation, but the generation prior. I think it was the 10th gen, or was 10th or 11th? I forget. I forget what gen it is at this point. The angular one that's the hatchback that everyone thinks looks crazy. That one. Um, so that particular car I saw on a reel. It was only a 5-second reel, but the rear tires were spinning. And someone swapped over a CRV all-wheel drive system into one of them. And that is extremely interesting to me because if you could get an look, I'll say one thing. Front wheel drive is not the most optimal performance platform. There are certain front wheel drive cars that are ridiculously good at being a performance car. I got a chance to drive that crazy angular weird looking hatchback Civic Type R. It is I maintain to this day two cars have just blown my mind when I've driven them. Um, not from just like raw speed, but just like how they are as cars. Mustang GT350 R is one of them, just because Mustangs should not do the things that that car does. Um, out of the box. Chad's Mustang, you'll be able to see my reaction to that. His Mustang is in that same ballpark, I'd say. Um, but because I had the GT350 experience first before I drove Chad's Mustang, that car still stands out more in my mind. Just because, again, it was the first time I'd ever driven something like that just totally shattered my expectations. The Civic Type R, as it stands from factory, is another one of those things. A front wheel drive car should not be able to do the things that car does. It the torque vectoring, the way it pulls you through corners, the handling, the body roll, the way it shifts. The shifter is just so good. The rev matching, the clutch feel, the weight of the steering, the feedback you get through the wheel, like everything that you would want from a performance car is in that car. And the whole knock against it is its front wheel drive. Honestly, it's not a knock against it the way the car works and the way the car drives. However, that thing with all-wheel drive would be absurdly world-beating just because of how good a platform it is. And I understand this is like, oh, we have the WRX, like it's basically a Civic Type R. No, I've owned a WRX. I've driven almost every WRX. It is not the same. If you put an all-wheel drive system in the Civic Type R, that thing would literally destroy every single WRX ever made, ever. It's that good of a car. It is so good. And Alan just said Honda has the best shifter feel ever. Yeah, there are two companies that have quite almost literally never missed on manual transmission shifter feel. It is Honda and it is Porsche. Those two companies know what they're doing when it comes to shifter feel. Um, but I need to find this car because it's going to be a topic on a future stream because it exists and I didn't realize it exists. But now that I've seen that clip, swapping a CRV all-wheel drive system into a Civic Type R just makes total sense because Honda, of course, why not? Like that just seems insane to me. So we have to find that. I will make it my homework to find it for a future stream. But going back to Chad's topic, the V8, yeah, I think F-Type R, C6 Z06, Mustang GT350R, are probably my top three, and only because they are probably the most attainable, like realistically for me to be able to purchase within the next 1 or 2 years. Um, I would say if I were to reach the V8 and the R8 would also be the Gen 1 R8 would be really cool just because um it is Chad sends a link all-wheel drive swapping an Integra using Honda parts. That's pretty cool. I'll definitely look at that. But excuse me, Chad gave me his yawning disease. Um the Audi R8 is an all-timer as far as looks are concerned. It looks it's a supercar. It looks the part. It sounds the part with the V10, but the V8 sort of kind of gets shit on a little bit by people. A lot of people that are in the know say the V8 is actually the one to have, because it sounds just awesome. It's the same V8 that was in the RS4. If you watched old Top Gear with Clarkson, Hammond, and May, they did a like the big three performance sedan kind of thing. They had an M3, they had an RS4, and they had a AMG. I want to say it was a C63.
C63 AMG.
C63 AMG, and that's the same engine in that RS4. And all three of them were just like, yeah, I'd have the
See,
RS4 because it was the slowest, but it was also just like it was the rowdiest. It sounded the best, and it was just the all-around best engine. But an Audi R8 with a V8 and a gated manual, I'm not sure you're going to be able to get much better than that, quite frankly.
bigger turbo.
Well, I mean, yeah.
No, you're
but
gonna laugh, but like one of my like sort of like dream builds, and it's probably one of these days I'd have to like list out my dream builds and then rank them. Like maybe even do like a tier list. Is to get a V8 R8, have the motor built, turbocharge it, and have it outperform any like all the V10 Audis, because
that would be sweet.
I will say 100% I think that V8 sounds better than the V10. And for me, the V10 is cool, but it always strikes me as it's a slightly more conservative Huracan or Gardo.
Yeah, it's not the full whack Lambo. That's always been the V10 R8's downfall.
It's
I feel like if the R8 stayed as a V8 supercar, I feel like it honestly would maybe have a little bit more respect in that sense.
because I always like the lines of it. I like the look of it. I especially like them when they're like they have a little bit of an aggressive body kit to them. Nothing too crazy, but that V8 just sounds
It's
awesome.
good.
Like,
It's really good.
that V8 is so good that I would consider owning an RS4 just for it.
Oh yeah.
Even though that the RS4 was made during Audi's dark years of electronic mystery and it,
Yes. The only knock, oh, not the only knock, but the biggest knock against that car, you have to take the engine out to replace the AC compressor.
I mean, and it's
Thank you, Germans.
they're notorious for this. We were actually talking about this
We talked about it earlier
today. But the B58 straight six BMW engine, all of the timing stuff is in the back of the motor. And what is BMW famous for other than spinning bearings? Vanos issues.
Over engineering everything.
So the Vanos is in the deepest, darkest recesses of that engine.
Of course it is.
What's it called? On Daily Driven Exotic Stories channel, they're going over the Drift Taxi that Mike Essa did for FCP Euro. It's actually on FCP Euro's YouTube channel, the original build. And they're tearing down the engine, which is stuff I nerd out on, because that's if I could only I don't know what the best say. If I could only know one thing about cars or watch only one kind of content with cars, it's engine stuff. I'd nerd out over the engine stuff. I love the engineering involved in it.
That's
And
cool.
it's like it's just BMW has this knack of like having really good ideas, like either to the only them or 5 years too early. Like the S54 with all of
Yeah.
its. The S54 was a supercar engine that just happened to live in a sedan. You know, between the individual
Yeah.
throttle bodies, just the tolerances it dealt with, the power it was able to produce naturally aspirated, like all of that stuff was so ahead of its time. I mean, show me another, 3.2 liter I'm sorry, 3.2 liter six cylinder from the early to mid 2000s that was chucking out 100 horsepower per liter.
That,
NA.
I mean, didn't exist.
It's like that's I tell people this all the time, but that is like the equivalent of the C6Z06 chucking out 700 horsepower.
NA.
NA. The Viper V10 chucking out 830 horsepower NA. Although there's a thing the last generation Viper was capable of making close to 800 horsepower NA, but Chrysler's parent company at the time, Fiat, said no, it can only make this much horsepower because we don't want it to make more power than the whatever the front engine V12 Ferrari of the time was.
Oh, the F12. Yeah.
So like,
Dumb.
because not for nothing, you're not cross shopping those two cars ever.
No, you are
If you
not.
want the Ferrari,
And if you are, you have a lot more money than me.
no. If you're cross shopping them, it's I'm buying both because they're two completely
Yeah,
different.
if you're cross shopping both, you have enough money to be like, which one will I take? Yes. Yes.
They're two completely different driving experiences.
Yeah, very much. Your turn, good sir. And then when I come back, we're going next news topic.
So, automotive marketing politics from Sean. Yep, it's a very real and present thing. It's funny, like Greg and I were talking, and the F-Type R, the C6 Z06, and the GT350R. Of all of those, honestly, the Corvette would get my vote. I've mentioned this before, but before I got my Mustang, I was this close, so close to getting a C6 Z06. I found one I liked. It already had a couple of the mods I was planning on doing. The bigger cam. It had already had the trunnions gone over, which is the weak point of LS motors, in case you were wondering. And everything gone over. It was relatively reasonably priced. It was like $32,000. This is before they actually, all cars skyrocketed, but this was before the C6Zs started to skyrocket. I have a history of being into a car right before it leaps in value. Believe it or not, I think I've mentioned this before. When I had an IS 300 Lexus. I was between three different cars. I was looking at an R32 Volkswagen, and believe it or not, in that same price range at that time, and this is going back almost 15 years ago. An Acura NSX was in that same $32,000 to $35,000 price range, and the only reason I didn't pull the trigger on the NSX was that I could only afford a car, and that wasn't really going to do much in the winter. And then after that, I was into second gen Vipers, which was the GTS coupes, and they were just that little bit out of reach. And I was like, and then now you can't. They were in the mid 30s, low 40s for a minute there, and now they're just skyrocketing. I mean, if you find one for that price, it's, well, we'll just say a fixer-upper. And then, of course, the C6Z06 we were talking about. And as Anthony so graciously pointed out, it was almost the vet dad, minus the dad part. But I love the LS7. There's something about having something with 427 cubic inches with a real racing pedigree. Those 427 engines were developed in the late C5Rs and in the C6Rs before the GT1 class went away. And how those engines, as hamstrung and as choked as they were just going over to Europe where everything was revving to the moon. And basically, these guys were shifting at 6,000 RPM at most, and just whooping up on these guys. Like, I love that. And that car always had a thing. And then there was my dad had a 59 Vet that he did a ton of work to. So, like, Corvette always has a special place. And I love that car. And, like, if there was ever to be a V8 plaything to go with my Mustang that Greg could get, the Corvette would get my vote. Because also it would be a sort of a yardstick to go after, because obviously the Corvettes are significantly lighter than the Mustang. So it would just be a ton of fun. And like, you get that big 7-liter V8 with a big ass cam, do some mild head work, a good intake manifold, and you're 650 horsepower all day long. They're just incredible engines. Sean goes, I would love another Thunderbird Super Coupe for my dad, his dream car, which he briefly owned before the Balancer blew up. See, I love that sort of stuff. Like, you know, you can have a dream car, and then like a lot of us, our quote unquote dream cars are influenced by our parents, or that I don't even know what the best way to describe it. That car person early on in our life who kind of molded our likes and desires. Could be a brand. It could be like for the weird and the quirky. It could just be, you know, big, great V8 or race cars or hot hatchbacks, like all that stuff. Like whatever it is, like there's always that one person in our lives who kind of molds what we're going to like going into the future. For me, it was my dad. And, you know, like I was into classic muscle cars for a minute. But I love the idea of my Mustang being a modern muscle car that can do everything. It goes like a bat out of hell. It stops like... It is one of the most impressive cars braking that I have ever driven, which is saying something. It handles really, really, really well. Turn-in is really, really good on it, especially with the better rubber that I put on it. It's just a really good car that just subverts expectation. And it has that American sort of brashness to us that I really like. And Anthony goes, Thunder, Cougar, Falcon, Bird. I mean, they're all Fords, basically. But no, like, I mean, it would, like I said, it would just be cool to have the wherewithal to have these cool cars, take them to different spots and everything. Personally, I would love to see, like, I think I did the math on it. And you would have to figure out track width a little bit, or width of the vehicle in general. But I always thought it would be really, really cool. And I only say this because I love spending Greg's money. But, like, if he combined the Corvette, and I wouldn't even chop up a C6Z. I would get like a C6 or a C5. Take the body off of it and put a 240 coupe body on top of it, and then go to town with the engine, whether you wanted an LS7 or a supercharged LS3 or whatever. Just go to town with it. So you have Corvette with a Volvo boxy body on it. I think, honestly, that's the V8 Greg should get.
No. No, I'm good. Give me the Vet.
I am.
Yeah, but not what with the Vet body. I'm over I'm over the old Volvos. I'm done.
It's not an old. It's
give me the Vet.
Only the body is old.
That's right.
And not for nothing, the C5s and even the C6s a little bit. You know, they have interiors that are going to be reminiscent of like old ancient Volvos, which.
Yeah, I mean they're not that horrible, but they're not great either.
Oh.
Okay, more news.
All right. And if you would believe it, it's about a Ford pickup truck.
Yeah, it's weird. I was actually just talking to Chad about this before we started the stream. I I looked back at the short form stuff that I've done over the last 2 weeks. I'm like, man, this is like 90% trucks. There's a lot of truck news coming out right now, and like nothing on anything else. So all the interesting news is about truck stuff. But
Truck stuff.
truck nuts. Truck nuts. The movie starring Jason Statham's nuts. Um, this is so another Ford truck. But here's the deal. For those that don't know, Ford is wild with their patent randomness. I maintain to this day that there is a team at Ford Motor Company that just sits in a room all day long and thinks, what's the strangest yet most interesting yet potentially could come to market patent that we could humanly think of, and then let's actually put drawings to it. I swear to God, this team exists, and I'm going to meet them one day because they come up with the craziest shit I've ever heard in my life. So basically, what this is, and again, I made another short form content video on it, and what we're gonna do on stream from now on is we're gonna start talking about some of the cool news stuff that we find that we make short form stuff on. So this is, if you see the short form thing, this is the expanded version. So Ford's patents are like crazy. The one I said in the short form content is they just made a patent. It's a real patent where it's for the Bronco, where there's grab handles on top of the roll bar that you can actually use to stand up and drive the car with. You can drive the Bronco with these grab handles on the roll bar for like off-roading. And it kind of makes sense, but that's just a wild concept. Like, who would even think of that? This crazy team at Ford. And sometimes they have really good ideas. This is a really good idea because if you can see by this wonderful, lovely 2024 F-150 picture, it's a big freaking front end. And if you stand a small child right in front of it, you will not be able to see them. And there's a great video online that I need to find, but basically they took like a new Silverado a couple of years ago, and they basically sat kids in front of it, and it took 14 kids just to be able to see the top of one of their heads. So like, big pickup trucks are not safe for pedestrians, period. And it has nothing. It has a lot to do with visibility, but it also has a lot to do with like
dumbass pedestrians.
Well, pedestrians are idiots, and I said that in the reel that I made. Like, pedestrians are just dumb as hell. People think that if they walk out in the middle of the street without looking, cars are just going to stop for them. That's not how reality works. Most of the time, people are going to stop. Sometimes you're going to get hit by a car. That's just how cars work and how the world works. You need to stop and look both ways. What's the first thing we're taught to as kids when we go to a street? Look both ways before you cross the street.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you hit 21 and you're an adult in the real world, probably moved out of your parents' place or whatever, that just goes out the window. No one else. No
I
one
would argue
both
you're
ways
not
anymore.
an adult at 21, especially in the more current generations. But like,
Right.
to your
But
point,
whatever.
To your point,
Adults just don't even look.
I used to have. My dad hung a poster on my door, in my room when I was a kid, and it was basic. The text was, "Don't try it, you lose." Right, and I think it can be equated to, pedestrians and stuff like that. But it was literally a car at a train crossing, and the train was just obliterating the car. It's like,
Yes.
It's like, we know you passed high school, and we know that everything else going, but we know you took at least basic physics.
Right.
A 2 to 3 ton vehicle traveling at 20 miles an hour has exponentially more momentum and what have you, more energy than you, at best a 200-pound human, walking.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a fair
I agree.
fight. That is like taking Brock Lesnar and making him fight in like the pre-K, like having him wrestle like a pre-K
Yes,
kid.
like a 5-year-old.
You know, it's just
100%.
It's that. So, and like, I don't mean to get off topic because we'll get to the news and what this is in a second, but it drives me freaking nuts when I see these fucking like at crosswalks and stuff, or like, you know, at random spots where like yield to pedestrians. No. Look both ways, do what you're supposed to do, because guess what? In that scenario, there's not a unless by some miracle you happen to be like 7'2" and have like a skull the size of a moose head, and it just happens to lawn dart itself through the windshield and into me, you lose that situation. And like, not that I want to recklessly drive through parking lots or crosswalks or crowded areas or any of this sort of stuff. But like, we've trained a generation of people to just be like, no, the car has to stop for me. And they're not like, and it's not even like a hesitation. And okay, during the day, it's one thing, but like at night in certain spots, I might not be able to see you. You should at the very least be looking for my vehicle. And if you don't, like, it's just, look, should we have an idea with vehicles to have some level of pedestrian protection? Sure. But again, a 2-ton vehicle traveling 40 miles an hour, do you understand the amount of bubble wrap you'd have to put on the front of your car to make that a safe impact? And even then, there's still 2 tons worth of mass traveling at 40 miles an hour. The momentum, that energy, the conservation of energy, it has to go somewhere. Guess what? You may get hit by the bubble wrap. It may not injure you, but the subsequent you being launched 50 yards is.
Right.
It drives me nuts, man.
The modern driver has never been more distracted. There's phones, there's infotainment systems, there's radios, there's looking out the window, there's this, that, and the other thing. If you're a pedestrian and you're crossing the street and you don't look both ways, I have absolutely zero respect for you as a human. You need to look both ways before you cross the street. If you walk out into the street without looking, it is the same thing as walking onto a firing range that is active.
Exactly.
That is it.
You're not going to walk across
my dad gave me a great piece of advice when I was a kid, and I was like, oh, yeah, whatever, Dad. I was a teenager, stupid fucking idiot. He's just like, I'm handing you a key to a car. I'm basically handing you a loaded gun. That is 100% an accurate representation, because you can literally get into a car and mow someone down. It's the same thing.
I mean, not for nothing.
You literally can just go kill someone, which is it's what's going to happen if you're a distracted driver and a pedestrian's crossing the street, also distracted / not looking both ways, and boom, there's a very high likelihood that you're going to maim and or kill that person. But that's what this is trying to mitigate. And this is the whole point of this, is big pickup trucks and front ends like this. The Silverado is probably the biggest offender because the front end of it is basically the size of my entire car. It's insane. It is just a wall. It's a driving wall. And if you hit a pedestrian with a driving wall, it's not going to end up very well unless you're going 5 miles an hour and that person can jump out of the way. But that's the whole point of what this is doing. This is basically an explodable bumper that turns into an inflatable device.
Nothing says safer for pedestrians like putting fucking claymores on the front of your truck.
Yes, the Ford Claymore bumper.
For when you really need to turn that pedestrian into a red mist.
Now in Warzone 2.0, the Ford Claymore bumper. No, but basically
Warzone 3 in a week. Come on.
It's basically an inflatable bumper, and there is an expansion chamber, but this is very smart. And the way that this works is part of the thing is, obviously you have like a blunt force impact, right, to a pedestrian. But the other part of it is these things are so tall that legs can go just straight underneath the car. So what this is trying to mitigate is, instead of the person getting like hit by the car and trapped underneath, it's basically to inflate the bumper and sort of just like shove the person as opposed to going underneath the car, which look, if someone goes underneath a car, it's a higher likelihood of injury and or death. If they get shoved or pushed out of the way, it's a less likelihood of death. It's a mild to moderate risk as opposed to a moderate to severe risk if you put it in those kind of terms. So, but it's cool in that sense that Ford comes up with these crazy ideas, and this one's actually one of the better ones because as far as pedestrian safety is concerned, these big trucks, they don't have much of any of it because the visibility is bad. You're basically driving a or you're driving a flying brick from the front end. So this is something that is really kind of cool to see car companies even start to think about because a lot of sedans and sports cars are designed with pedestrians in mind that they're obviously lower to the
Oh,
ground.
that's why the retro
but they're
designs
designed
don't work
that they
now.
if you hit a person, they're supposed to just kind of go over your hood as opposed to like go underneath your car or just totally take them out.
That's what I'm envisioning the whole time as you're explaining that.
Is that a Tesla nailing a Zorb?
It's like Boy in the Bubble gets hit by Tesla. And it's all I'm picturing the whole time you're talking about that. It's like,
All
because
you can think
again,
about.
like, I'm sorry, but momentum needs to be conserved.
Oh,
And,
totally.
like, look,
Ooh, Dragon Ball Z.
was it? Oh,
No, no, the next video up was something to do with Dragon Ball Z.
oh, okay. It's like, look, is safety a good thing? Yes. Here's my question with this, right? Like, it has airbags, right? Like, so then
Yep.
up. My second thing was it's like how like big backcountry skiers and even like equestrian have like and snowmobilers I think have this device too, where like they wear a jacket and if like it has a ripcord and if they get launched from the horse, the snowmobile, or they go tumbling in a skiing accident, it just goes foomp, and it's made to
Yeah.
lessen the fall and all this other sort of stuff
Yeah,
and
they're
everything.
avalanche jackets.
you know and like that's cool because the jacket's soft, right? It has no hard surfaces. Let's just say for example you
Yep.
have your airbag here in the bumper. Well, in a truck that bumper's made of one of two things: either plastic, best case scenario, or metal. So like I get how the airbag's supposed to kind of sort of deploy,
Yeah.
but I don't know, man. Like, look, I'm sure the more safety innovations you come up with and like this sort of stuff, I'm sure there's some sort of like government based or government incentive to do so as an auto manufacturer, excuse me, and everything like that. But I feel like the amount of engineers that were put into this project and designing it and the hours that they did, right? Like, say you have 10 engineers and this was like a 50-hour project or whatever, right? I feel like that money could be better suited to be like, listen, jackass, do this.
Well, I mean, yeah. But this is the same argument with self-driving cars or at least driver assist technologies. Is like you're not going to change the behavior of people. Period. That's just how it works. So you have to change the end user experience to be able
Right, but
to
at what
deal with the
but
stupidity of people.
And then lastly, the same thing. It's like with the airbags, you still again have a pickup trucks are damn near 3 tons, if not over that, in certain trims.
Yep.
They are still traveling at a speed. They are still hitting something that isn't. Basically, it's got to be one of those things where, like, this system to work in my head, and I know this is getting a little ridiculous, but the whole point of it is you can have a big fluffy pillow out in front that's going to really cushion that blow, unless the same principle as an airbag when you in the car, right on the steering wheel, it's slowing your acceleration, or
Yeah.
it's slowing over time, right? Same basic concept as a parachute, right? You're not
Right.
smoking the ground at 125 miles an hour.
Right.
It's slowing you down.
9.8 meters per second.
Squared.
That's
9.8
right.
meters per second um,
Yes.
is the acceleration of due to gravity. Ha!
Yes.
You didn't think you were going to learn something today, chat. Although knowing our chat,
Aha.
our chat's pretty damn smart.
Science.
They probably knew that
Science.
already. But
Probably.
so like, and it's over a certain amount of time and distance for something like that. I get it. You're not going under the vehicle and getting, a haircut courtesy of this car's undercarriage. It being good, but like, I just don't see something like this working. And
Yeah.
again,
I don't know
like,
if it'll.
and again, like, uh, we've said it many times. The average driver needs to improve in this country, and that's those same people that need to improve as drivers are probably the same dumbass pedestrians who are watching the latest and greatest TikTok from shifting lanes and not paying attention because that shit's gold.
I agree. I mean, I watch it all the time when I'm driving. Just kidding. No, I don't.
It's just it. Look, I get
No,
the technology involved and like everything like that. It also annoys me that in their drawing, my first look, I go, "Is this a new Grand Wagoneer? Why is there a Ford here?" Because the grills.
Yeah, it does look like a Jeep bar grill, doesn't it?
But it's like, again, I feel like the time and the investment and everything could. You're right. Ford has ridiculous patents, but I feel like there's a better solution to the problem, and it's like I get we're not going to change behavior, but I'm pretty much at the point where I'm like, all right, fine, let Darwinism take over. Like that gene doesn't make it to the next life. Sorry, and I get it.
No, I mean, I both agree and disagree. People, a person is dumb, or no, sorry, people are dumb. A person is very smart, but there's only so far a person's smarts can go before they turn into a people, because people as a group are very dumb. But like,
right,
when a person has a phone and headphones and all this other stuff going on and they just walk out into a street, you become the people in that sense. Like,
right.
there's no
But, I mean,
self-awareness, there's no spatial awareness, there's
certain
no
point-
awareness to anything going on.
At a certain point, look, I'll say, at a certain point, the person driving the car shouldn't bear 100% of the responsibility if the person that unfortunately got struck is on their phone, listening to headphones, completely, like, even basically just in a sensory deprivation crossing a street. Like, as avoidable as an accident can be, like, if the driver's distracted, don't get me wrong, if the driver's distracted looking down at their phone or doing something other sort of stuff, yeah, 100%, like, they get responsibility. But the person who's actively and consciously and has made the choice of sound mind and body to not be able to hear their surroundings, distract themselves so they're not paying attention visually to any of their surroundings, like, they have made a conscious choice, and that is a risk. And
Right.
because case in point, if I'm just driving down the street, obeying the speed limit, let's say I'm in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, and let's say I'm even going under that, I'm going 20 miles an hour, and someone just walks it, like, one of my biggest fears driving through my development is people park on the street. So, like, and when people are on both sides of the street, it kind of condenses it down. Someone's coming the other way. Someone could walk out in front of the car, and I have even at 20 miles an hour, it's a 25-mile-an-hour zone, by the way. At 20 miles an hour, I have no chance. I am paying attention. I'm at 9 and 2. I'm looking forward. There is no shot of me ever seeing that person walk out who's being... And then that is not... I did nothing wrong, and yet there's a massive injury and, God forbid, a death on my hands.
Right.
And that's kind of where I'm coming from with this. Is that just... I remember crossing the street, not looking both ways, and either getting yanked by my father or getting to the other side and catching one on the back of my head. Like, you
Right.
fucking idiot. That's like, to use your analogy again, that's like wandering onto an active gun range.
Correct. 100% it is.
And it's look, this is obviously there's frustration in a lot of different things going into just this one thing. The engineering is very clever and very, like, the guys are very smart. It's a fairly smart solution to a current issue. But if my car can have blind spot detectors, I feel like that if Beats by Dre, Raycon, Bose should have proximity sensors in their fucking earphones.
I mean, that's actually a really, really good idea.
Like,
I don't understand why that doesn't exist.
cost.
Actually,
That Raycon earbud is now going to double in price because it's gonna save your life one day. Like,
I mean,
and the jackass.
I don't think it would double in price just to do a mass-produced sensor.
Right.
Honestly, it's just an alert sensor.
Right.
But
But
proximity sensor is not an uncommon thing anymore. It's in almost every
right,
new
but
car.
it's an added. It's something added to an existing piece of technology that has to be integrated so that it's going to. It may not be double the price, but it is going to cost more. And we live in an era of your Amazons, your Walmarts, your Targets, your anywhere you can get a deal, right? Like, but like, I said that half jokingly, but like, if I'm the one driving and I'm supposed to have all this technology at my aid to help me prevent or not hit you, the pedestrian, again, like, I just think the pedestrian should have some of the responsibility. It sucks. Like, it's not a situation any of us want to be in or have someone we love be in on either side of said scenario. But like, at a certain point, if you're too dumb to not realize what a car does to the human body, even traveling at slow speeds, like, I don't know, maybe we again, to me, I think this all goes back to, what are we teaching individuals when we teach them how to drive? The state of New Jersey, I forget the amount of hours you need as far as book learning, but basically you go to a driver's ed class, which is usually like a quarter of the school year or half the school year. You take a written test, and then you get 6 hours. After that 6 hours, there is no requirement for you to ever drive the vehicle again other than parallel parking, doing a K-turn, going up and down a street, and proving that you have a pulse behind the wheel.
Pretty much, yeah.
And
it was my first ever article on shifting lanes, and I will literally die on this hill. Every person should retake their driver's test every single year. Period. Full stop.
But I also think that
Every
from like an
person should.
educational standpoint of, I don't know how you do this and not have it cost an absolute fortune, but maybe in a driver's ed course of actual like driver's education in a vehicle,
Right.
you have something, whether it be like a ballistic dummies labs, human analog, whether it be a freaking pig or something, and you have a vehicle and it's traveling at 50 miles an hour and it hits it. Shows what happens. Is it grotesque? Is it a little gruesome? Is some people like not going to have the stomach for it? Sure. But you know what those people aren't going to do? Or you know what they are going to do? I'm sorry. They're going to make sure that they don't become the human analog. They're going to start to, like, it starts with education. And
we need to do what Finland does and throw everyone at the age of 12 onto a skid pad for 100 hours.
And then finally we might have a competent American F1 driver.
I was just going to say that. Maybe we can finally source an American Mika Hakkinen of some kind. That'd be great.
Michael Hawkinson.
Michael Hacken. The end.
It's, look, again, like, kudos to Ford for having, because, like, I say all of that, but I also don't want to stymie clever engineering.
Yeah.
If someone has a good idea, they should be allowed to flesh that idea out. and
Yes.
go from there. Like, I don't want to sit here and sound like I'm you know, discouraging it, but like we are starting to live in an era where the like you mentioned, the modern driver is not only distracted more than they've ever been, but they're having the act of driving removed from them more than any generation has. And I'm not even talking full
Yep.
self-driving cars. Cars will automatically emergency stop for you.
Yep.
So you have that
They
safety
sure
net.
will.
So like if you have that, oh, the car will stop for me, you are naturally going, the average person is going to naturally relax and not,
Mm-hmm.
I can look at my phone, or I can do this, or I can do that. Like, you know, so as the driver gets more and more removed from the act of driving, only other person in this scenario is the pedestrian. And they need to be on high alert because guess what? It's probably a few $1,000s to repair a bumper. A life cannot be replaced.
Correct. We're very well put.
And I think on that note we will we'll go to chat. Antoine asks, would an outer front airbag deflate within the bumper without having to be replaced? That's a great question, because anyone who knows, the number one thing that really totals your car now, other than like frame damage, is the airbags going off.
Yeah. And and those can be replaced too. So
Right, but
I would
airbags are
imagine that this
expensive.
could be replaced.
But they're expensive.
Yeah, and this is a weird application because I don't think it's necessarily an airbag. And this is obviously just a patent. Like this has not been like fully thought through. This is just like sort of this
Yeah.
is sort of an idea and a concept. But they say inflatable bumper. So I don't know what they mean by that. Obviously, they say that there's an expansion chamber. So I don't know if it's reusable,
Expansion.
where
This
it's like
sounds like a freaking weapon.
I know it does. It does.
The pre-ignition chamber inflates the like. It goes back. This
Wait,
sounds oddly like freaking slapping claymores on the front of your car.
I know the nomenclature they use is inflation chamber and thermoplastic elastomer, which literally just sounds to me like C4. So I don't know. But there's
Spicy silly
it's
putty.
I don't know. It seems like a
Oh, you can't get caught for running over a pedestrian if if there's just a cloud of where they used to be.
That's right. Let me see what it says. It says drawings of the proposed equipment detail multiple inflatable devices that both prevent the pedestrian from going under, as well as lessen the relative movement between the femur and the tibia. So it's basically to
Basically,
prevent them from going under the car and
stop from
also to
dislocating
stop
your
them
knee.
from shattering their legs. But I mean, look,
And
if it's between death and a couple of broken leg bones, gonna go ahead and take the leg bones.
yeah, but then like Doug said, that we keep doing this, and price of cars keeps going up and up and up and up.
Yeah, I know.
It's
But again, it goes back to the point of like, how much is it going to cost to change the behavior of people? That cost is infinite. There is no cost that is associated to. You cannot change the
I mean,
behavior of
hold
all
on,
people.
hold on, hold on,
Mm.
hold on. I know I'm
Hold
the
on.
worst possible example to use, or worst possible person to use this example. But remember when we were kids, right? When
No.
we were younger, more people smoked, right? It was just
Yeah.
more and more people smoked, right? What did they do with
Yeah.
us? They told us how dangerous it was.
Mm-hmm.
They showed us what it does to the lungs. They even, I don't know about you, but I remember in health class having like this like fake thing that actually inhaled cigarettes, and it
Mm-hmm.
showed you
Oh, I remember that. Yep.
all this different sort of stuff. Guess what
Yeah, with the
happened?
cotton in it, and it showed you all the tar it collected and whatever.
You guess what happened? Not everyone. Perfect example. Or imperfect example, as you might say.
Yep. It's
Uh,
gonna be like,
But the number of people who smoke now is significantly less than it was when we were younger.
for sure.
Do that with crossing the street, man.
How long has that taken, and have you completely eliminated smoking from the population?
No, but if let me just put it to you this way: if right now let's just say right now I have a 1 in 10 chance of a pedestrian getting in front of me and me striking them with your car. If I can reduce that to a 1 in 15 and a 1 in 20, and it's part of
Hmm.
driver education, so not only are you training people to now be cognizant of where they are in relationship to the street and cars, number one. You're
Hmm.
also training the drivers to be on more alert for that sort of stuff, regardless of whatever aids they have. And
Oh,
and not for nothing, the argument of how long is that going to take, I've never really been one to adhere to such in certain aspects for that line of thinking, because by delaying something, how long could this have take? You're adding a year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years to how long it's going to take. Whereas if we had,
sure.
or if this was part of the overall, like I think it comes down to just education reform when it comes to driving, which is something we both agree on. And if you
Oh,
know,
definitely.
if you're driving the car and you know that your vehicle, even if it's some tiny Honda Civic, traveling at 20 miles an hour is going to obliterate most humans, you're going to have a little bit more. You're going to, you're naturally, you don't want that on your hands, right? Uh, and then on the flip side, you are going to have a healthy respect for the vehicle when you are outside of it. And
Right.
again, it might take a long time, but on the flip side, it's not like it's an inordinate expense to add something like that to a driver's ed program, especially like the one we had when we were in high school. Or what are we talking about? An extra day? Worth of like if you took the hours and put them all together, right?
Right.
Like an extra 10, 15 minutes per class or what have you. So like I get it's not the quick fix. I get it's not some fancy new engineering thing. I guess it's not something
Hmm.
that some CEO of some auto manufacturer can go up there and go, "We are leading the way in safety. Check out the Claymore 9000 on the front of our cars. It saves lives." Right?
That's definitely what we should call it, by the way, is the Claymore 9000.
Like it's not the sexy option. And not for
No.
nothing, if you want to sit here and say, "Okay, we're going to start developing this inflatable stuff in vehicles," well, instead of maybe doing that, every OEM is responsible for paying X amount into driver education.
Yeah. Here's the thing though. I agree with everything you're saying though. I don't trust people. That's the other part of it. Like we can go through all of this and we can do this. What I think we should do. We should have better driver education. We should have better pedestrian education as part of that driver education. People are still going to do what they want to do because they have free will. That's just how people work.
I get that.
So, like it's we also this is again also very hypocritical of me because I am very much of the mindset of self-driving stuff and driver aid technology. Like I think it's at its peak now, and I think we should stop doing it. Lane keep assist is great. Cruise control, radar guided cruise control, wonderful. They're fantastic anti-fatigue mechanisms to help alleviate um, long road trip fatigue and just overall tiredness and have better attention to the car and the road around you. I don't think that we should go ever into the self-driving realm. It's too much of a minefield. This, however, I'm very much on board with because I don't feel that people are ever going to fully just stop and look both ways. Even I mean we've all done it. We've kind of just walked out in the road. But I mean, people do it more in certain places than others. You know, like New York City, L.A., Dallas, Minneapolis, Philly, whatever. You know, they go they just walk, and you know, pedestrian hits and pedestrian deaths are very prevalent um, in cities as opposed to other places. I'm definitely all for the education of it. I think it needs to happen. I think it needs to. I think we need better automotive education too. I just don't see it. It's never going to be 100% thing. Just same thing with self-driving. It's never
Well,
going to be
nothing's
like
ever going to
a
be
100% thing where people are just going to like love cars
if
and
a human
respect them to the point of actually wanting to drive them correctly.
If a human's
So
involved, nothing will ever be 100%.
no, but it's got to be a balance of both. I think you got to have the technology to help, but also you need to educate the person. True, and I'm not saying we shouldn't try, but I'm just saying that I don't think pedestrians care enough to really actually put it into practice.
So this is from the UN, whatever their science thing is. I just wanted to bring this up because I had a sneaking suspicion. So this is from 2021, and this is pedestrians killed in road traffic accidents.
Mm-hmm.
We're number one. We're number one.
Not a number one we want to be.
But if we go and we go here, we see Finland, 24. Now I understand there's a difference in population and stuff. Finland,
Oh, sure.
24. United States, 7,388. Just, and I mean,
A lot.
we're in the top 5 with Turkey, Ukraine, Uzbekistan, Romania. Like, not exactly like,
Yeah.
like,
What's the next largest, like truly large country? 'Cause I can't really see it.
well, what would you say that would be, like a Canada or a United Kingdom or
like more than 50 million in population.
let me just pull out my database of about this country.
No, I'm talking like large developed countries like Japan, Russia, South Korea,
right.
United States, Mexico, Brazil, like big ass countries.
United Kingdom is 369. Canada
Okay.
is 286.
Okay.
I don't even see like. I think this is just like UN country. Oh, maybe not.
Okay.
But like, you know,
I wanted to
France.
see where Russia is because I've seen those Russian dash cam videos and they are fucking crazy.
Poland, Italy,
So
Greece, Bulgaria, Republic
Russia's got to be up there.
Republic of Moldova.
That's not Russia.
No, but that always makes me chuckle for reasons.
Yeah.
Short version of the story is we used to go to the Outer Banks every year, and when we were in college, the Outer Banks has this like exchange program where there's a lot of like Eastern European people working in like the grocery stores and stuff like that. And we met these girls from like Moldova, and we party with them, blah blah blah, and everything. And I think, it's gonna kill me trying to figure out the name of the song, but it was like the popular hip hop song of like 17 years ago or something like that, and we were like
Something by 50 Cent.
and these girls loved it, so we just dubbed it the national anthem of Moldova.
Nice. Interesting. So, yeah, U.S. up there on pedestrian deaths. Not really that surprising.
Yeah, it's gonna take me a while to figure, but like the reason I bring this up is that it's like it's not like we're number one by like a small number.
Yeah, it's a shit ton.
I mean, we're number one, and we still beat the next 5 countries combined. So, like, what is it? Like, when, like, these, like, not for nothing.
Number one by all of those combined.
Like, not for nothing. Like, at what point, like, you know, some of these are pretty underdeveloped countries. I'm not trying to be whatever.
No, I mean,
But
that's just how they are. Like, that's not a knock on them. It's just they're underdeveloped.
you know, and like you would think that
not have the
cars have
things.
next to no technology, like are older and have no technology compared to ours. The average motorist is less educated, blah blah blah. Like down the list, they're like they aren't afforded the same opportunities we are in all things, let alone automotive. Like you would think that these countries would have a lot, right? Like, and they do.
Right.
Like, obviously, a few thousand or 1,000 is quite a big number, especially when you're talking about deaths and everything like that. But like, I mean, it's pretty freaking staggering. And like, what's the difference, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you know, and I guess just kind of get back to chat and go from there. And like,
Yeah.
Antoine goes, look at the
Keep
amount
going.
of distracted.
I'll be right back.
Antoine goes, look at the amount of distracted people who are not even driving, that are jogging, riding a bike, or just walking. They come upon a railroad track gates, and coming down a train is coming at 80 to 110 miles an hour, does not have the ability to stop like a car, and unfortunate death happens. People are equally distracted not behind the wheel as people are equally distracted not being behind the wheel just as much as if they are. I mean, look, we live in an era where you have more information more readily available than ever before, and more entertainment and more of everything. You know, this is magnitudes more powerful than the computer that we used to put men on the moon. Right? Like, we are just in an era where we just have all of this access. And I think my whole thing with this is that we've drifted into that's fine, continue doing that, because guess what? If thousands and thousands of people continue to buy our smartphones, pay for their self, or what have you, those big businesses are happy and everything like that. But like, you have to be smarter. You know, like, if you're crossing an intersection and you're not at a crosswalk, like, use your head, or someone else is, and it's going to be putting speed dimples in the hood of their car. Let's see here. Steve goes, when I did my 6 hours back in the day, my teacher was dumbfounded on how well I knew the road. He literally says to me, I don't know what else to teach you. You clearly know what to do. I mean, it comes down to parents in this country on how well you're taught how to drive. I was lucky. I had my father. He was a phenomenal teacher, and I wish more people were afforded that opportunity. Roads would be safer. Doug goes, I remember being back as a kid and assuming it was easy. But now that I drive, I realize how many times someone on the road I didn't see until pretty late in the process. Not always distracted driving, just a matter of maybe looking up the road as something else. Pedestrians don't stand out very well. Agreed. It's not like they're all running around at night in high visibility jackets, right? Like, and that's the thing I'm trying to make. It's like, everyone could be doing the right thing. They still may not see you. So as the pedestrian can see or yield to the thing that, you know, car hits person, car damaged, person possibly dead. Sean is back. Welcome back. Antoine again. It seems like all this stuff is happening mainly in the U.S. and Canada, since we are the two countries whose insurance rates keep skyrocketing every day. I'm sure that driving in other countries, monthly insurance rates stay low because driving elsewhere outside of North America, with the exception of Mexico, people are far more aware and attentive, and the laws are far more stricter than anything in the U.S. And Canada are doing. No one is getting arrested unless they hit and run is involved. Other than that, who suffers as much as the people whose close ones, friends and or family, losing a loved one in a fatal collision, are also the ones who are the safest drivers ever that have never had an accident and try the asses off to keep their rates low. I mean, yes. I don't know off the top of my head, but I know a lot of other countries, insurance rates are actually insane. But not as driving is more of a privilege than it is like I don't know the best way to describe it. Again, I'd have to do some digging, but to continue on that, Anthony goes, USA, number one again. Yeah, we're at the top of a lot of those lists, unfortunately. Sean goes, I'm drawing comparisons to this and our military budget, and I don't know how to feel about that. Yeah. I mean, we do outspend everyone, but we also do have the Raptor. So, Doug, Wiki shows Africa being the worst generally per capita. I do remember hearing that. The chart is trying to sell a story. I mean, I'm sure, like, statistics can tell any tale that person putting it up wants to. Um, the the sole point I'm trying to make is that like uh if you just like we always use Finland as an example because their driver education is like best in the world, and it's 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 just when you correlate just like how people in this country view driving as a birthright. When I turn 16 or 17, I get my license. Some are so entitled that they think they're getting a car. Even those who didn't, uh, they get to drive mom and dad's car, which is almost in some cases a lot worse because mom and dad usually have a nicer, bigger, faster, whatever vehicle that can do a lot more damage. Or a kid could get an inexperienced driver could get in more trouble with. Um, it's just Doug goes, disregard that's traffic deaths, not just pedestrians getting hit. But the chart was missing too many countries to be a good example, I think. I agree. I don't think it's a perfect example. But given that I wasn't expecting to go down this particular rabbit hole, it was the best I could find. Um, given the time frame, I understand that it's an incomplete data set, as Greg kind of pointed out. Steve goes, I have the Bluetooth driving thing that monitors my driving. My insurance dropped $70 within a month. I mean, that's great. I will never put one of those things on my cars. Not because I am constantly driving around recklessly or anything like that. I just don't like the idea of being tracked. Sean goes, Raptor the truck or the plane? And they are extending the life of the old F-15 because it can do most of the Raptor's job for much less money and is faster and better handling despite being from the 70s. No, I fully understand that. The F-15 could be sick. I believe an argument could be made that the F-15 could technically be considered a rocket because it has a higher it generates more thrust than it has weight/drag. I think, and actually no, there's footage out there somewhere of an F-15 getting struck by something, losing one of its wings, and making it back and landing with a wing. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Defense spending is a rabbit hole I don't really want to go down. But the reason I'll say this, and then Greg will get me back on track with cars. There's a reason why the F-15 is just something that's damn near 50 years old, or the design of it at least is damn near 50 years old, is still out there and kicking ass, and it has a perfect combat record, or not perfect combat record, but is like 125 to, has like a 120-ish to 0 kill death ratio in this day and age. It's because it was so advanced and ahead of its time back when it was made. But I mean, it's hard to argue with that. Hard to argue with the statistics. I mean, as far as that, I don't know, man. Well, as far as actual combat, yeah, it's 100%. It's 100%. I mean, not for nothing. Look at what we went from. We went from the F4 Phantom, where they had the brilliant idea to be like, yeah, it doesn't need guns. Right? Like, and not for nothing, the 6th gen fighter aircraft program, like some of the stuff that's going on with that right now is fascinating to me. Like, not for nothing, like most kids, one of my first dreams, I think we'll kind of touch this and then kind of wrap for the evening. But one of my first ever dreams, like, you know, every kid has that dream. They want to be a cop. They want to be a fireman. They want to be a pro athlete or whatever. I wanted to be a fighter jet pilot. and it wasn't because of like Top Gun certainly helped, but it wasn't because of Top Gun, or what have you, to such an extent that like I actually was went through the process of applying to like the Naval Academy, and would have gone if my mother allowed it. She didn't like that idea. But in hindsight, all the things that made me like, again, not trying to brag, but all the things that made me like a Division I recruit for athletics, specifically baseball, turns out eye-to-hand coordination and all that other sort of stuff translates really well to flying a jet, and being 5'8" helps. So
a little smaller.
Oh, there's some great stories out there.
Power to weight ratio.
I encourage every one of you, if you're into that sort of like military tech and like military history and like interesting military historical stories done in such a way that's entertaining as hell, I highly recommend you guys go watch the Fat Electrician on YouTube. His stuff is awesome. And he's very entertaining with it. And his stuff, like he did one on the most decorated B-17 crew, and it's nuts. Like it's crazy what these what they did. And not for nothing, Fat Electrician, one of the fastest from nothing to like massive creator. Like his rise was insane. His first ever TikTok did, I think, 14 million views or something like that.
Jesus.
Like his first,
that's crazy.
His first ever long form YouTube video, I think, did close to, if not over, 1 million views.
That's insane.
So, but yeah. So, guys, I think we'll wrap it up there. Again, we have other Chad from EV Pulse coming on the show next week. I encourage all of you to go follow EV Pulse on their socials. Check them out. They do EV stuff in pretty decent fashion. Yeah, Grunts and Crafts, E4 Mafia, Sean. I encourage you to go check out EV Pulse. Also, just to get ahead of the game, War Admiral, and what was the channel again for
Elliot Alvis?
Elliot Alvis.
It's just the guy's name. Elliot, Alvis. Yeah, and it's literally War Admiral .363 on Instagram. Go follow him.
Yeah. Thank you, Doug, for the 100 stars on the way out. Guys, once again, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next week. Next week's a big week.